Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a brand new Mattel figure to review. Although it's not really a brand new figure, the Sculpt has been out for quite a little while now, but it is a new paint scheme, and this is one that I had previously reported on in a news video, and I was super excited that they were making another version of it. And it is this guy over here, that Dilophosaurus. This is the new Kohls exclusive Dilophosaurus that comes in this 6-pack that's full of other figures. So let's go ahead and break this box open and we will take a look at the brand new Dilophosaurus. So as far as who is included in this set, we've got our gigantic Owen figure. We've also got Blue, the Velociraptor right here, which we've had plenty of times already released. We also have the very gigantic basic Pteranodon, the Indoraptor, which we have also already reviewed here on the channel, and the Proceratosaurus, which actually this one looks much nicer than my previous one did. The last one that I had quite a bit of sloppiness in the paint, I think, on this side of the head. This one does not, which means this one is going to replace my previous one, and then I will just repaint my previous one. So, here is the star of the show, who isn't fitting in the screen too well. There we go. This is the new Dilophosaurus, the new basic Dilophosaurus. It's one that I was definitely quite interested in. It was kind of a shock to me to find out that they were even making this, because honestly it was pretty unexpected to have a different alternate color variation of this Dilophosaurus. But I'm really actually quite happy that they did, because looking at it here in person, it's definitely pretty cool looking. Unfortunately, this set cost about $54.95, so $55, and I had every other figure that was in the set aside from this one. So I did have to pay quite a bit to get this one specifically, but one of the good factors of it is the fact that I can repaint every single one of those other figures. So that just means it's a plethora of repaints that will be coming eventually to the channel whenever I actually can find time to repaint some figures. But regardless, we do now have this Dilophosaurus to look at, so let's go ahead and get a closer look right now. So as far as the Sculpt goes, we have actually looked at this Dilophosaurus before, and I have reviewed the Sculpt and everything. If you want to see a more in-depth review of the Sculpt, check out my original basic Dilophosaurus review, because I really did do a much better review of the Sculpt. But what we are here to look at today is the newest additions to the figure. So as far as that goes, up here on the head you can see that you've got like this dark gray that kind of borders around the eye and splotches a little bit under it. I definitely think that really looks quite nice, especially in comparison to this reddish coloration that is the primary body color. I think those two colors really look quite well together. You've also got this really nice looking yellow crest up here on the top of the head, but I think the yellow is just way too bright. It's almost like a neon yellow, so it's really quite out of the range of what I would expect on a real living dinosaur. So it's really quite unrealistic, honestly, and definitely way too bright. It does still give the overall head a very bright and flashy appearance, but now in kind of an unrealistic way when it comes to the coloration of the crest. I think that a yellow works quite well, especially in comparison to the coloration of the body, but it's just too bright. I think that if they had used a darker shade of yellow, it would have been a much more realistic appearance. The eyes are painted with a greenish coloration, and they have a nice black pupil. Actually, it's probably like a dark gray. Most likely this same coloration that you see here bordering around the eye. They are painted quite nicely, as he almost headbutts the screen, but you can see both eyes look to be painted pretty darn well. There's no real sloppiness or anything to them, which is nice to see. You've also got a gloss there. You can see it shining on the teeth, so that is also really cool. The teeth are not painted, of course, because why would they be on a basic figure? They're just basic, but regardless, they do still gloss and shine quite nicely, which is very cool to see as well. As far as the frill goes, I think the frill is painted really, really nicely. You've got some very nice variation of color, and again, it's something that I could see being potentially realistic. Maybe not the most threatening looking coloration as far as what this would have been used for when it comes to the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, but you've got like nice blues, like almost a sky blue in there, and you've got some reds and some grays, and then even a little bit of a light red here the closer you get to the head. So there is a good bit of color variation, honestly, and all the color is applied really beautifully. The paint is applied very naturally, very nicely. It does not look like paint, honestly. It looks like body color and definitely gives off a very cool overall look. that is for sure. Again, maybe not the most threatening appearance for this, but if this were a mating display, I think that's something that could look really, really cool and very natural potentially when it comes to a mating display, something that would attract this Dilophosaurus, a nice girl to date and take it slow with, or fast, I guess, depending on his preference. But you've also got some really nice paint application on this side as well. Really nice looking sculpt, of course, overall, because the sculpt of this, in my opinion, is fantastic. Even the rear of the frill is just sculpted to the max. Unfortunately, they don't include paint there, which is definitely a bit of a downside, but it's not the end of the world. Other than that, honestly, there's not too much going on as far as the coloration goes. You can see the body is all primarily this reddish coloration. You might have, you definitely have a slight difference in color from here to here, because often with the Mattel figures, you can also see it on the feet. The feet are a slightly different shade compared to the rest of the body because it just depends on the material used. And I think that does help to give it a little bit of color variation. Helps to look a little bit cooler when it comes to an otherwise kind of boring figure. When it comes to the paint application, there's just not much going on, and that does help to give it a little paint variation. You've also got kind of that speckled appearance that Mattel does like to do. Here and there you can see it, you can pick up on it with like a dark gray. It's not super visible, but it's definitely there. Other than that, you've also got the gloss on the nails of the hands and the feet. No paint on the nails, but they do gloss them. I don't know why they would even go through the trouble of glossing them if they weren't going to paint them. They could easily have just used some glossy paint, but that is what it is. It still looks really quite nice, and I definitely am a fan of this Dilophosaurus overall. I think it's very appealing looking. Aside from the crest, everything looks pretty natural, and I really do quite like it. As far as a size goes on our basic Dilophosaurus, if any of you have purchased a basic figure in the past, you'll know that they are really quite large, honestly. Very sizable figures. So for a length, you're looking at about 15 3/4 inches or around 40 centimeters in length, which is just ridiculously large. And then for a height, the highest point is probably going to be the crest there. About 6 1/4 inches or about 14 centimeters if we go to the top of the frill. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. So definitely a very large figure. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you can see next to him that this Dilophosaurus definitely has a large amount of size to it, as he is actually quite bigger than even the Papo Rex. But that is something that you've come to expect, or at least I have, when it comes to the basic figures, because they are usually quite large, and that shines through here once again with this new basic Dilophosaurus. So this brand new Kohls exclusive, I guess you can say as of right now, basic Dilophosaurus from Mattel for the Jurassic World toy line is definitely quite nice. It's quite appealing. I'm not sure if I would say that I like this one better than the previous version, as I feel like maybe the previous version's colors were a little more realistic, because this one just has that crest on the head that's a little too bright for me, but it still is very nice. It's definitely up there as far as that goes, and pretty darn close when it comes to just how much I like it in comparison to the previous release. But I don't think that this is anything anybody needs to go crazy over, that you really need to search out. If you don't have any of the other basic figures that were in the pack, or if there's a few in there that you need in general and you might have some, it's still a pretty good deal. You definitely get a few dollars knocked off to own them all together. Or if you're like me and you like to repaint figures, then picking that setup may not be a bad idea just to have this one, as it doesn't currently have a standalone release, and the only way to really buy it is that set, so that may make this figure kind of hard to find and elusive in the future. Who knows? I think that the overall coloration of it, though, is really quite nice. A red Dilophosaurus isn't something that I would have expected to look so good, but it really does look quite beautiful, honestly, overall. I think that the frill coloration also looks really good. Again, something that I think is more colorful, that would be more suitable for like a mating display as opposed to threatening off another dinosaur or a person or anything like that. I don't think that they're going to take that as much of a threat, but it really does have a beautiful coloration as far as a mating display would look. There's no sloppiness or anything that I can see anywhere on this Dilophosaurus. So if you are interested in this, make sure you check Kohls out in store to find this set. It is definitely a pretty good deal. I actually do believe that this set is online as well, so I will try to find that and include it in the description, where you can purchase this just from the comfort of your own home if you would like. So either way, if you want this Dilophosaurus, check the description or head to your local Kohls. But before you do that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of any future videos, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.